everybody, welcome back. Turnpike to Turnpike Fantasy Football 2013. This is the Week 8 preview show, and I am back. I'm your league commissioner, Kevin Babula, and I want to look ahead to the coming week and pray for the end of this season to come as soon as possible. But before we do that, I would like to thank John Moore for filling in most admirably last week. John came up with all of that info and content himself. I asked him if he wanted to try it. He said sure. He wasn't sure at first, but then he said yes. Put together a phenomenal little script, did it all himself, and I thought he did a great job. Most of that stuff I will not use again. There will not be a Lullaby of the Week award, but it was fun, and I think that he did a great job. And if any of you suckholes out there want to try to do it as well, let me know. I would be glad to turn this over to any of you out there for a week for us all to see what you can do. The only problem with that is if you want to do it, you need to get out here on a Tuesday night to our league office in Downingtown, Pennsylvania, and sit here and have a couple drinks with me, and we shoot this, and we have a lot of fun. So if you want to take me up on the offer, shoot me an email. I'd love to have more guest hosts. But until then, John Moore gets the title of only person to guest host this show. Let's get to last week's matchups, and we're going to start off with my collective pile of shit. The Warriors of Babylon taking on Julius Jones, Bob Crane's team. And most of you guys know that I hate losing in fantasy football, but I hate losing to Bob Crane. He's the one person in this league that I cannot stand losing to, only because he's a little scab, and he just picks and picks and picks, and the text messages start coming, and he tells you how this anyway. I lost this one 131-97. Bob got almost all of his points out of Calvin Johnson, 44 points. He got 26 out of Eric Decker. That was pretty much enough right there to beat me, and then he got a very nice 16 points out of his Jets defense, where I got 20 points out of my Niners defense. I got 18 points out of Tony Romo and 13 out of my wide receiver edition of Terrence Williams. Up next we have, wow, don't look now, kids, but we've got a problem in the Long household. I think we might be all too quick to jump on the two kids because Fishtown, off in the corner, Matt Dreyfus' team took on Kenny Long's Gladiators, and for the third week in a row, Kenny Long loses. Matt wins this one 139-103, and guys, I've said it every year, this is a broken record. Look out for Matt Dreyfus. Every year, he puts together a team that slowly but surely starts creeping back into playoff contention, and here he's doing it again. He got 38 points out of AJ Green, 28 out of Chris Johnson, and 24 out of Jordan Reed. Matt, tremendous tight end free agent selection off the waiver wire. Excellent. You've got yourself a tight end to put in there now. Look out, kids. This team is going to be good. Kenny, you lost again. You got 26 points at Aaron Rodgers, and Adrian Peterson got you 4. Adrian Peterson, I think, was too busy trying to figure out how to send his kids child support this weekend, and wasn't really paying attention to the fact that he had the New York Giant defense in front of him. 4 points out of Adrian Peterson. Kenny did get 18 points out of Seattle Seahawks and 13 points out of Fred Jackson. Up next we have Mike Bonds, East Fall Jedi, taking on the surging Hamilton Square Possum. Jeff Arai has Howie Goldenbaum wins this one 120-87. Jeff starts off 0-4. Don't look now, kids. He's 3-4. Where Mike drops to 1-6 right along next to me. Jeff got 42 points out of Vincent Jackson, 16 points out of Des Bryant, and 21 points out of Russell Wilson. Where Mike Bond got a very nice 16 points out of Eddie Lacy, 16 points out of Adam Vinatieri, and 14 points out of Zach Stacy. So this is one that we got to start thinking about too, guys, because Jeff all of a sudden has Des Bryant, Vincent Jackson, and Rob Gronkowski in his lineup on a weekly basis. Look out. Goldie might be getting healthy in time for the playoffs. You know what, Goldie? I'd be happy to see that happen, honestly. Up next, we've got Jeff Zeminski's Paper Tiger taking on Downingtown Destroyers. John Moore's team, our guest host from last week, and maybe he got some kind of a jinx or something because John sat in my basement down here and said, well, as long as injuries don't get me, and whammo! Jay Cutler. Jeff got a score of 149 to 79 for John Moore. Jeff wins this one easily. What a wipeout. 40 points out of Matt Forte, 38 points out of Matthew Stafford, and 22 out of Frank Gore. Where John got 24 points out of San Diego Chargers defense. And thank God he had them because he had nothing else besides that. Alshon Jeffrey got him 16 and he got 13 out of his kicker, but everything else was single digits. That's a tough one, man. That was a tough loss. John doesn't have a quarterback now. He's going to have to start Colin Kaepernick, who hopefully, for many reasons, is going to be able to start producing, even on a fantasy level. Where the good news for Jeff is there's still a couple weeks left before the trade deadline where you could try to steal other players from Anthony Parisi. And speaking of Anthony Parisi, Anthony visited, and his Woodbury Wankers, I should say, visited 1 gram equals a pound Brian Sheehan's team, and Brian wins this one 71 to 57. Let me say that again. Brian wins this one 71 to 57. Brian got 18 points out of Phillip Rivers. He got 15 points out of Marshawn Lynch and 12 points out of Danny Woodhead. Where Anthony got 11 points out of Sidney Rice, 9 points out of Tom Brady, and 9 points out of Reggie Bush. This is where the freak out happens. You guys have been waiting for me to do this. This is where the freak out happens. Finally, I've had it. I know I'm defending champion. I know that. But I also know that this team scored 57 points and they're ahead of me in the standings. How does this happen? How is this guy ahead of me in the standings? I have a goal now. I have nothing else to prove in this league. I've won the championship twice, but I have pride. I have pride, and I cannot let this happen. This guy has to fall behind me, under me in the standings this season. Has to. Because when you've got a team that has Hakeem Nicks scoring 2 points, Donnie Avery 3 points. Oh my God! How am I under this guy? Up next, we've got the Long Bowl. Greg Long takes on his father, Chris Long, as Get Work Done visits the Asgardian Thunder Gods. And I tell you what, it had to be good living around the Long household Sunday night for Papa Long, because 112 to 91, Chris wins this one. Knocks Greg down a little bit, and wow, what a great win for you, Chris. 31 points out of Andrew Luck, 25 points out of Harry Douglas. Awesome insert into your lineup, and 15 points out of Jamal Charles, who is by far the best fantasy running back this season. Where Greg got 32 points out of Peyton Manning. That seems to be what I say every week. He also got 16 points out of his Kansas City Chiefs defense. And he also got 10 points out of Noshan Marino. Sorry for a bit of a breakdown there, guys. I'm sorry for losing my cool. It's just been a rough week. It's been a rough season. Can't wait for it to be over. But in times like this, you know what I like to do? I like to ask Bobby C a question. This week's question comes to us all the way from Antonio Cromartie. Dear Bobby C, being that you are the father of 2 young men, maybe you can help me out with the life issue. Imagine that you have taught and raised your multiple children to be successful in ongoing competitive endeavor. Then that you're engaged with them in this endeavor. When is it acceptable to start smack talking with them? I have run into this issue as I have a lot of inflated egos getting tossed around in my house, considering that this season is only at a halfway point. They seem to be making plans on what they're going to do with all their winnings. I have tried to treat their youthful exuberance with a calm and cool approach and told them that we are still early in the season, but they just won't hear it. What advice would you give to curb this head-swelling effect I am experiencing in my household? Best regards, Antonio Cromartie. Yes, I have at least 7 children with multiple women in 5 different states. Wow, that is a great question, Antonio, and Bobby answered it. And what's amazing about this is the first time, I think, in the history of this whole Ask Bobby C stuff that the answer is actually shorter than the question. Bobby wrote, sibling rivalry has been replaced by your kids outsmarting you. You gave them the tools, and they have taken it to the next level. Much like your lapses in coverage and missed key tackles, you're on the path to being the third wheel in the house. On the positive note, perhaps all the winnings they will use to buy things themselves. You'll be able to save some money. Trying to look at the bright side. On the other hand, your ego will be bruised, and one of them will win a championship, and you'll have to hear about it till the next draft in your league, which might be in April at this rate. I hear one of the league members always pushes for a very early draft, Jeff Goldenbaum. Just remember to take note of what they did. You yourself can... Bobby, come on, man. Can you have Amy at least look at what you write? Jesus! Anyway, that's Bobby C for this week. Let's look at next week's. Let's look at next week's coming games. So, again, apology for my little breakdown. Just had to get that out of me. I feel better now. Season's almost over. I'm feeling zen-like. I'm going to award one of you the championship. It's going to be nice, peaceful. I just hope it's not Kenny. Kenny's the only one I don't want to see win it. Kenny or Bond. Or Goldie. I don't want to see Goldie win it. I don't want anybody to be a two-time champion. I just want to be the only two-time champion. So as long as it's not Kenny or Bond or Jeff, Goldie, I'll be happy. Any else of you suckholes out there, that's fine. I'll give it to you. No big deal. Let's look at this coming week's matchups. And right off the bat, I get to take on a very hot Off in the Corner. And I can tell you this, I'm not going to beat Off in the Corner. But I will tell you this. If any of you are out there in those weekly, salary cap fantasy leagues for money, I don't know what they are, I've heard about them. I would put a lot of stock in Victor Cruz this week because Victor Cruz is on Off in the Corner. And anytime Victor Cruz is on a team that plays against me, he goes crazy. So I am counting on Victor Cruz this week against the Eagles to probably have about, maybe 140 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns, and definitely one of the 75-yard variety. Guarantee it. Watch this game this week, and when Cruz hits a 75-yard touchdown, that scream you hear is me killing myself in the backyard. Up next, we've got Julius Jones taking on the Eastfall Jedi. Boy, this is some juggernauts going in this one. You've got the 3-4 Bob Crane taking on Mike Bond's 1-6 Eastfall Jedi. Why bother either one of you? Although I am rooting very, very hard for Mr. Bond this week. Mr. Bond, I expect you to win. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. We have the Gladiators. Joke of a team they are. Taking on Paper Tiger. Actually, this is a big game for you, Kenny. You're taking on a team that's very hot. As of this point, it's Tuesday evening. Jeff hasn't stolen another player from Anthony Parisi yet. So his roster should pretty much be set right now. Let me take a quick peek at this one for practical sake and not just making a mockery of this whole thing. But Jeff is projected right now to win this one 133 to 110. No bye weeks really affecting anybody this week, so this should be a big one. Adrian Peterson needs to come out on this one for you and play lights out. He's against the Packers. He's home. It's a team that he always has done fairly well against. I remember last year he had to beat them in the final game of the season. He's basically the reason they made it into the playoffs. He put the team on his back. You got a shot in that one, Kenny. I'm going to be rooting for you, Kenny. Not that thief. Up next, we've got the Hamilton Square Possum taking on Woodbury Wankers. How are you predicted to have 84 points, Anthony? Next. Downingtown Destroyers taking on Get Work Done. Big game for you, John. Big game. Big game for Greg. I don't know what you're going to do, John. If you're going to roll the dice with Kaepernick or you're going to try to make a trade, try to make a move. I made an offer to you. Romo's out there. And also, we've got the last one of the week, and that is 1 gram equals a pound. Brian, I want to congratulate you on being in first place in the league right now. I gave you a lot of shit in the beginning of the season about your luxury pick of Jimmy Graham, and you know what? If I had the whole draft to do over again, I had this conversation with Mike Bond a couple days ago. If I had this whole draft to do over again, in hindsight, I would not have done anything I did. I would have took Jimmy Graham in the end of the first round where I was, and I would have took Peyton Manning in the second round, and I'd be awesome! But I'm not. Anyway, I want to watch Chris win this one anyway. This is going to be one that I got to root for him because I just can't handle the thought. Yeah, I'm going to add Sheehan to the list. I don't want to see. Yeah, I don't want to see. Now, I don't want to give. So I don't want to see. I don't want to see Kenny win the championship because he's won it already. I don't want to see Bond win the championship because he's won it already. I don't want to see. I don't want to see Goalie because he's won it already, and I don't want to give Sheehan and Crane. Nobody wants to see Sheehan and Crane. Does anybody want to see John Moore win it? Maybe John Moore would be. I mean, Greg would be kind of cool because Chris would have to live with that. But then Chris winning it would be really cool too because then he could rub it into the kid's face all season. I kind of like that one. Saminsky, did he really earn it? Isn't it about the way you draft? When you draft the Houston Texans defense in the 8th round, and then we got Anthony Parisi. Oh my God, I'm getting woozy. I don't know, guys. I'm Kevin Babula, your league commissioner.